I'm the owner of Roskom Meats, and we are just going to walk through the process today of how we bring in animals and how we end up cutting animals up to end up with your steaks, roasts, and however the customer would like the animal cut up. Right now we're standing in our barn, so when you bring in an animal, it's going to come in a door, and you can see we have a few pigs in here, and then on the back side of the barn is where our beef are going to go. And if we have any lambs or anything else, we segregate them into different pens, and this is the start of it. So we bring it in today, and then tomorrow at 6 o'clock we have our inspector here, and we'll start, before we start slaughtering, our inspector needs to see all the animals and how they are healthy, and the health of the animals, and he'll give us a go-ahead that we can start slaughtering animals. So when they come in here, we run them down the chute here into our knock chute, and that's where we knock the animal before they go into our slaughter area. And now we just came into our slaughter area, so once an animal is knocked, we open up this door here, and the animal comes into this area here. And the first thing we have to do is bleed the animal out. So we take the animal up into the hoist, and we cut the throat, and that's where we bleed the animal into this area. And after the animal is bled out, we take the head off the animal, and then state inspector has to check and make sure that the animal lymph nodes and stuff are all healthy and everything is looking good. And then we take it and we lay it down onto a cart here where we can skin the animal out. And we have a hook on the floor, so once we skin the animal down the middle, we can go ahead and pull the skin off of the beef. And the pigs are done the same way as the beef. As we skin them out, we pull out the hides. The next area is where we gut it, and this is our gutting that we go up and we put the animals and feed over it, and we go ahead and cut it, and we gut the animal just like we gut a deer or anything else we gut. At that time, the inspector is looking to make sure that all the animal organs are healthy and that the liver, hearts, and lungs all look good, that it's a healthy animal. At that time, we take the guts out of here, and it goes over into our splitting saw. The splitting saw cuts the animal right in half to end up with two different halves of the animal. The pigs we do not split, we just leave them as one whole pig. The next station that goes over is our wash station, and we have somebody here that washes the animal and gets it ready to go in the cooler. And right now you can see we have one animal on our scale, and that's the last thing we do before we put it in the cooler. We scale it so we get a weight off the carcass weight, it's called a wet weight. So we wet it, get the wet weight, and then we take it with the weight and put it right on the carcass to who the farmer is. So you always want to make sure that your animal is identified to the ear tag and to the farmer, and that gets tagged before it goes in the cooler, so we know exactly who the farmer or who brought that animal in and who the customers are going to be. Carcass into our cooler. This is our cooler, and we regulate our cooler every day that it is below 41 degrees. And the state watches us to make sure that we have that documentation that this never goes over 41 degrees and that our carcass always stays under 41 degrees, because things can grow inside the carcass if it's not there. So you can see all our carcasses that we slaughtered last week that are ready to go on the processing floor and then get cut up.
Okay, we're going to spread this carcass down between the 12th and 13th rib, and we'll talk just a little bit about the carcass contest. But one thing they look at here is kidney pelvic fat. You can see a little fat inside here. So now we'll take a knife and we'll split this open.
So I'm going to take this knife and I'm going to run it in along here flat, and I'm going to hit a rib, and then I'm going to push it up so this thing will spread out for us a little bit, and we can measure the loin eye, which is right here. We can measure the back fat thickness here, and then we can look at how much marbling it has. And there's just a nice little stool so I can get up here and look. And I'm not a grader, but this is where they grade it to see if it's choice or select. This has maybe a short quarter of an inch of fat, so it's not very fat. Marbling is actually pretty good in here, but I can't grade cattle, so I won't tell you.
Well, as you notice now, when we break down a beef, we count up 5 ribs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's where we make our cut here. And you can also notice that there's nothing on the table, so we don't bring another beef out until the prior beef is all done. That's ways you know you're getting your own meat back from when you do your beef. So we're going to split this and drop it. And we count 8 down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we're in the area ready where we're going to drop the beef. As you can see, we take the tag off now, as who the farmer was, and making sure that it's a correct carcass of who we're cutting. When we get it down on the table is when we split it. Take out through your front shoulder. So on your front shoulder, this is your arm roast, this is your chuck roast. On the back here is your short ribs, and this is your ribeye. Now we're going to bring down the hind of the animal to get it down where we can start cutting it into portions. On that rear animal now, we're going to take this out, that's hamburger meat. And then we're going to take out the sirloin tip roast or your rump roast. And then we're going to break it down. This is your loin for your sirloin, T-bone porterhouse, and do your strip ribs. And this is the rear rump where your round steaks are, or your ground round, or your taken out the rib area, which is hamburger meat. And right now he's taking out the rolled rump roast or your sirloin tip roast out of it. Now he's going to put it on the table, and that's where he's going to make a cut. When he gets it on the table, right in this area, because this is your sirloin steak, this is your porterhouse steak, and this is your T-bone steak. And then you have your rear rump, and this is your roll rump, your tied roll rump on the hind. Cage area, and right here is your ribeye steaks, and right here is your short ribs. I'm going to take your front shoulder here, and I'm going to make a cut here, and then right here is your arm roast, and then I'm going to rotate it, and then cut your chuck roast up. And then if you want a soup bone, that's right here, that's your neck bone. Arm roast out. Now this customer wants 3-pound arm roast, and he wants 3-pound chuck roast. Okay, there's your arm roast. customer wants soup bone, so that's your neck bone right here. So we cut that out. Customer soup bone. But if they wanted bone-in ribeye, this would be your bone-in ribeye. But he wants boneless ribeye, so we're going to cut the bone out. Customer would want baby back ribs. We cut this off here, and this would be your baby back ribs. But they don't want it, so we just put it in the hamburger. So right here is your ribeye. All right, and this customer wants them at an inch. So we put this saw here. There's measurements on there. 1 inch. Face off your ribeye. The ribeye steak at 1 inch. Customer wants a rolled rump roast at 3 pounds. So this is your sirloin tip of your rolled rump roast. So right there, about 2-3 pound roast, and that's what you get out the half. And the tied one comes off your rear line. So set it right here, and we'll get 2 more roll roast out of here. Now at this rear line, we want a 3/4 inch round steak. So I'll cut them out of this rear line. Here's what right there, we want to cut that out. So these are your round steaks. Right now he's making the tied whole rump roast. He's cutting that up so he gets it, and then he'll fold it, and then he'll tie it together. Right now he has his rump roast, and he's tying it to make his 2 rump roasts. Get your tied rump roast. 2-3 pound rump roast. The steaks: sirloin steak, porterhouse steak, and T-bone steak. They want them at 1 inch. First thing I'm going to do is space this off, and I'll cut them all 1 inch. table ready, taking the mold off. Take a little fat off. You can see there you have a sirloin steak, an inch thick. First, cut the porterhouse steaks and then the T-bone steaks. So at an inch, it'll be 4 porterhouse steaks, and then the rest will be T-bone steaks. Porterhouse and your T-bone, and you like about a ½ inch of fat on here. If there's more than that, we trim that fat off. So that's our porterhouse and then our T-bone. Tenderloin and New York strip. This part here is your tenderloin, and this is your New York strip. All we do is take that bone out, and then you'd end up with your tenderloin steak and then your New York strip steak. If they want short ribs, we cut these and put them in the cut the short ribs, otherwise this is the stage of the beef. And like I mentioned before, it's very important that everybody gets their own beef bag. So everything that's in here came from that half of beef that we just cut. So we're going to grind it through once, and then we're going to take it, put it back in, and take a look at it, make sure that there's no chunks or anything we don't want in there, and then we'll grind it through again to make it into the chunks of hamburger. Put it all back in, we mix it all together to get it all mixed up to get the right fat content. So here we have the hamburger, £1.5 hamburgers with the customer's request. So it's probably about 90-10. This is the last stop with the meat before it goes to the customer. You can see it's in here. It's in here, and it comes in here. We got blowers going. It's about -4 degrees with the blowers going. That's important to snap freeze the meat so it don't get any freezer burn and that it doesn't get juice that runs to the bottom of the package. Roskom Meats, thanks for coming to visit us today, and I'm hoping to see you soon.